We want to welcome you here to our show this morning, our Northeast Regional Tunis show. We're going to introduce our judge today is Mr. Brian Schimmerhorn from New York Mills, Minnesota. Brian's married, and he and his wife have 3 sons. They show cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs, and Brian himself is the manager of a feed mill for Leaf River Ag in Bluffton, Minnesota. Brian grew up showing Suffolk sheep at many shows from the local level to the state and national shows. He's also helped fit and trim many of the wool sheep throughout the upper northern portion of the United States, the Dewdrop Farms and Merlau Farms from Indiana as well. Brian's judged from many national shows, worked the All-American Junior Show, several state fairs including Minnesota, Arkansas, Wisconsin, and North Dakota. We had an opportunity to watch him work yesterday. He'll be working throughout today as well. And let's give Brian Schimmerhorn a nice welcome here to New England and to our show today. Brian Schimmerhorn from Minnesota. Today's show, we had 100+ entries. We have 93 head that we're going to be judging here today from 14 exhibitors from 5 different states, and we're darn glad to have each and every one of you out here. If you're a new exhibitor here to our show, we want to again welcome you here first, but following along our show here, our judge will place a class, and in each one of these classes, we always weigh the top 3 individuals from each of the classes, and we're going to share that information once the class is completed. Again, we have holding pins down here in the middle. We do need to keep you out of the center aisle there. We have this being one of the weekend days, we're going to have a lot of fair traffic here. So we do try to keep that center aisle free and clear of the sheep. Tunis exhibitors and those of you following along our show here, we have programs available for the show. They have a yellow cover. They're on the bleachers on each side if you'd like to follow along our show. Also, Tunis exhibitors, we have your brand new Tunis directory. The association sent out to us for distribution, so the 2018 and 19 directory is over here on the bleachers as well.
Good morning. A really nice way to start off our regional Tunis show here this morning. I think a class that got some bucks and got some pieces as you go forward with your program. I think this is how I see him, and I think the buck that wins with some ease for me. Here's a sheep that's built really good at the ground. He's got an extra shot of bone if you're going to compare him to the rest of the class, and I think that's important as you go forward with longevity. And sheep built good from the ground up. He's got a lot of body to him. He's one that balances up well enough and nicely presented. So just a really nice buck to win this particular class. After that gets a little more challenging. I like this darker-headed buck here that comes next. Here's one that balances up good. He's got an extra shot of rib as you look at him, a lot of depth to this one. He's good through his top line. I think he sets his feet down really square and good, and that's kind of what sets him apart as we go into the next slick-shorn sheep. And there's one little lighter-colored one that comes next, but really appreciate the hip on this sheep. I think as we study these Tunis, as we move forward here over the years, they've really progressed as they've gained some popularity, and to get them hips built in them like this guy's got is really important. It gives you an extra shot of look. He's the one that's extended enough up front. He's good enough on the corners. He just breaks right in behind that shoulder. I'd like to balance him in through there just a little bit and just make him a little bit neater right in that front end. But there's a sheep that's got some rib and body and capacity. He definitely deserves to be up here in the top trio. The buck in 4, and here's the youthful peering sheep, maybe a little later maturing type of sheep, and with that he gets a little bit narrower. For me, I just need to change him at the ground. I need to raise him up on those pasterns off them rear too just a little bit, but boy, there's one that balances up good. He's got enough rib to him. Really good shape to that front end, and you like that. If you're looking for something to get some eye appeal, there's the buck for you. The buck in 5, here's one that just gets a little bit plainer in his look as we stand back and study these top 5. He gets just a little bit rounder in his shoulder, just not quite the attractiveness. Just need to raise him up on those toes, but one you like the extra shot of depth and width that he brings with it. Just a sheep that's got some really good parts here. Nice class winner here to start off our Tunis division, a challenging class. Let's give these exhibitors a nice round of applause.
We weigh these first 3, don't forget, and then we're going to share that information with you. So top 3 exhibitors there. We're going to anxiously await the weights here on these rams. Once again, Tunis exhibitors, we've got programs over here if you'd like to follow along our show this morning. There's brand new Tunis directories the association sent out. There's catalogs for the New York sale as well. There's a nice set of Tunis going to be sold at the New York sale. Nearly 70 head of sheep will be in that. Those of you with that first and second place yearling rams, we do have a senior championship and reserve that we're going to be judging right after we complete the fall class. We just have these 2 fall ram lambs. We'll have 2 entries in our next class. Our yearling ram class was won by Double Trouble Tunis of Honeoye, New Falls, New York, with Kyle 1743, and that was from M.M. Brook Kyle. And our class winner weighed 307 pounds. In second place was Isaac Eppy from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, with Sugar Maple 1710. Our runner-up weighed 228. In third place, we had S&T Tunis, Swartz and Talley from Hunt, New York, with S&T 1958. A son of Darling Joe. He weighed 262. The fourth place yearling ram in class was exhibited by Aaron Liu with Darling 1708, a Joker son. Fifth place honors went to Josie Best of Newport, New Hampshire, with Best 7291. Sixth place also to the Best with Best 7404. And rounding out the class was Connor Priest with S&T 1699. And if you're following along in the book, that page is going to read down 5-3, weighing 262, 1 at 307, 7-4-2, weighing 228, and 6.
Just a pair of fall ram lambs here, and a pair that offers you some challenges, a little bit of give and take. And I'll be the first to admit the buck in second's maybe a little bit more my type of sheep as we go forward here. But this buck in first is so good about his angles. Here's one that's just extra attractive up front. And as you sit back and study this guy in the three-quarter view, he's one that's got a little less fleece on him, but man, he's got a good top. He's got a nice rib shape in him. He's maybe a little more later maturing, just makes him look a little bit fresher in his look. He's not the stoutest bone to the pair, but boy, he's up on his toes, and you appreciate that about him. I think as we move forward, he's just got the most pieces, and at the end of the day, he's the sounder of the two as we ask him to get out and go. The buck in second, extra shot of rib and depth in this one, and you appreciate that about him. A little stouter bone on this sheep. I just need to change him about his pasturance to compete with that buck that wins, but two bucks that are different but bring a lot of good no matter what direction you're going here. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tunis exhibitors. We'll weigh these. And our next up will be the selection of our senior champion rams. So those of you with that first and second place yearling, Double Trouble Tunis and Isaac Eppy, will call you back up here to the ring, please. Here in our senior ram lamb class, our first place ram lamb was exhibited and bred by Aaron Liu, Busy Corner Tunis Farm of Cummington, Massachusetts. And the runner-up went to S&T Tunis of Hunt, New York, here in our fall class. And again, our first place yearling ram was exhibited by Double Trouble Tunis of New York, and we will be bringing in the Isaac Epi yearling ram here directly. Our first place fall ram lamb weighed 191, and our second place ram lamb weighed 219.
Pick our senior champion here out of this division there, and I think got $4 that bring a lot to the table for me. They're sheep that balance up, and they just got a little shot extra body, but got some longevity bred into these sheep, but bring some really good look to them. And at the end of the day, that's really important. We're here to display them and to the public, so it's nice to have them eye appealing. But yet, at the end of the day, when we go back home, we got some longevity in these, and I think these $4 bring some good. There's some differences as we get out here in this particular division, but with that, I'm going to pick the two that I like, and you always got to move forward with the programs with what you like. But let's give these exhibitors a nice round of applause. 4 really nice bucks that bring a lot of pieces to the table.
Our senior champion ram goes to Double Trouble Tunis and the Eppies, Isaac Epi, with the reserve senior champion ram.
I think a really nice, complete duck-headed one to win this particular class here. This guy's so good, and he's so round in his rib, but yet so level through his top. When we get this one out and go, he just can get out and travel. He's not the biggest one you're going to see or be the biggest one next year, but boy, the angles are right on that guy, and as we move forward, I like him quite well. The buck in second, a little more extended type of sheep here, and I appreciate that about him. He's got an extra shot of bone. He just breaks in behind that shoulder. He's just not quite as level. I think his best is when we ask him to go. He's up on those toes, and I appreciate that. We just need to tie them together just a little bit neater. If you're looking for some extension, that's the buck that you definitely latch onto. The buck in three, built more like our class winner here, one that gets a little bit tighter through his top line as we ask him to go. Need to balance him through there, strengthen him on them pastures to move him up any higher, but there's a sheep that definitely has got the right angles if we can just tweak him a little bit. And the buck in four, if you're looking for one to definitely give you some extension, if you want to head that way with your program, he's really good up in through that next shoulder junction. He gets a little bit narrower and tighter in his rib and in his flank, gets a little bit lower fronted as we ask him to go, but a lot of size and scale and added height there if you're looking for that. But a really nice class winner here. Appreciate the angles on that one. Congratulations.
Two. All right. I think somebody busted some stuff. Is everything else working except this? All right, let's see here. 1, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. How's that?
Brian, you're back live. Turn that off. In our January Ram Lamb class we just completed, our first place Ram Lamb was bred and exhibited by Aaron Liu of Busy Corner Farm. On Busy Corner 1144, he weighed 155. The second place ram in the class was exhibited by Mackenzie Stumpy from Mexico, Missouri, with Stumpy 707, and he weighed 152. In third place was S&T Tunis of Hunt, New York, with S&T 1997, and he weighed 150. And fourth place was exhibited by Josie Best of Newport, New Hampshire, on Best 8131. Again, lead line contestants, you may take your outfits down to the office at this time. Lead line contestants can take your outfits to the office.
I got a nice class winner here in this particular division, one that he first hit the ring. He just really grabs me. He's really my type of sheep. He's got an extra shot of width and dimension to him, but yet he's good through his top. And when we ask that one to get out and go, he sure can get out and follow his tracks. I like him through his top line. I think just for me, a nice, really nice, complete place to start. The buck in second, he's made just a little bit different as we study him, but he doesn't maybe have near the fleece on him as some, but there's one that's just really structurally correct. He's darker colored chin buck, and appreciate that. And he just really can get out and go. He doesn't have the width and the extra rib that we have in some that are on either side of him. But one I just really appreciate when we ask that one to go, how balanced up he is. We just need to see more of him in the center part of his body to move him up any higher. The buck in three, a little bigger bone sheep, and you appreciate that about this one. He's one that's got a good hip on him. He's one that breaks in right in that top line, right behind his shoulder. I'd like to change that about him, but one that's got an extra neck extension and bone, and appreciate that about that one. The buck in four, built more like my buck, that's up in second, but he just gives up a shot of rib, and we just need to blow him apart in the center part of his body to move him up. One that you stand back and study this one, a short fleece sheep. It's got some extra extension to him, and I appreciate that about him. Really like the appearance and youthful appearance, this 1 and 5, and nicely presented. But with that, he just gets a little off in his structure as we ask him to go. He gets a little bit lower through his front, a little bit tighter in his loin, but very youthful and attractive. And I like to pattern that sheep, just change his structure just a little bit. But a nice class winner here. Congratulations.
We have 3 entries in our March Ram Lamb class. Those of you following along the books here, we'll share the results of that February Ram Lamb class. First place honors went to S&T Tunis of Hunt, New York, with a son of S&T Cupid. Our class winner weighed 169 pounds. And in second place was Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering with Renew You, 285, and he weighed 160. The third place Ram Lamb in the class was shown by Mackenzie, Lindsay, Amber, and Nick Stumpy from Mexico, Missouri. On Stumpy 721, he weighed 147. Our fourth place ram in the class was bred by Josie Best with Best 8211. Fifth place honors went to Aaron Liu with Darling 1727. And in sixth place, we had Isaac Epi with Sugar Maple 1822. Seventh place was exhibited also by Isaac Epi, and rounding out the class was Kyle Harris from Ludlow, Massachusetts. And again, if you're following the book, it reads from the top down 5, 8, 2 weighing 160, 4, 6, 1 at 169, 3 at 147, and on the next page was 7.
A little more challenging class here. We hear our March buck class, and just on pure performance and rib shape, the buck that wins, just pounds heavy type of sheep, one that's maybe not the most true as we ask him to go through his top line, but he's one that's plenty good up enough on his toes, and just a pounds heavy sheep that balances up well enough for me. The sheep in second kind of looks out of place there, but there's one that's up on his toes, and I like them short pasterns about this sheep. I like the maturity level that he's at right through his front end. I appreciate that. We need to just see more of him to move him up to win this particular class, but one that's youthful and attractive, and definitely gets up into second just on feet and legs alone. The buck in 3, as we stand back and look at him, nicely presented one. He just really gives you a beautiful outline. He's one that runs uphill, and if you're just looking for that, really like that about him. I just need to change him off them pasterns, especially when we ask him to get out and go. He gets too soft off those rear two to move him up any higher, but there's one if you're looking for some balance, a nicely balanced sheep. A challenging class here. Congratulations.
Our final Ram Lamb class of the day will be the slick-sheared Ram Lambs, and let's bring them up to the ringside here, please, if you're not already there. We'll have 5 entries in our next class before we go into the pair competition. In our March Ram Lamb class, Swartz and Talley of Hunt, New York placed first with S&T 2023 with the son of Cupid. And our class winner weighed 152 pounds. In second place was Anna Monique Charest with Small Fry Farm, continued number 89, and he weighed 106. And in third place, we had Mackenzie Stumpy from Mexico, Missouri, with Stumpy 733, and he weighed 120.
Really kind of a neat pair of slick-sheared bucks here in this particular class. This top pair is challenging. A buck in second, not giving us his best look as we get out here. But the buck that wins, he's just got an extra shot of eye appeal. As you study the front third of this one, I think he's a little neater in his shoulder and his neck. He's not quite as true and wide through his hip, but I think one, when we get him together here, just balances up just a little bit neater than the buck that comes in two. The bigger hip sheep comes next, a little wider in his top, a little neater, and maybe in his rib shape as he goes forward when he wants to set in and relax for us. You like how this one is on the corners. These two bucks aren't going to be the biggest ones, but boy, they're complete and bring a lot of pieces to the table. The bucks in 3 and 4, and you appreciate the extra extension that these sheep bring. They're sheep that get a little bit tighter right in their rib and in their heart, don't quite balance up right in behind the shoulder, but a lot of frame, a lot of size and scale, and you appreciate that about him. Young man's buck that's getting around this particular group here. Here's one, you like the maturity level on this sheep. He's maybe one on the standstill, might be the truest right through his top. As we ask this one to get out and go, he just gets a little bit U-necked for me. Just like to change that about him and just change him and widen him up just a little bit. But a nice class of bucks here. Congratulations.
At this time, those of you with pairs of ram lambs can line up your entries in the pair class while we weigh our top 3 slick-sheared ram lambs. In our slick-sheared ram lamb class, first place went to Aaron Liu with Darling 1431, and our class winner weighed 131. Second place ram lamb was shown by Swartz and Talley with Red Barn 863, and he weighed 122. The third place ram lamb was exhibited and bred by Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering with Bess 8112, and he weighed 145. The fourth place ram lamb was from Josie Best, and fifth place honors went to Isaac Epi. And reading that class from the top down, it is 1 with a weight of 131, 3 at 145, 4, 2, weighing 122, and 5. In our pair Ram Lamb class, first place went to S&T Tunis of New York. Second to Aaron Liu from Massachusetts. Third was an entry from the Stumpy family of Missouri. And in fourth place, we had Josie Best. Fifth place was shown by Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering. And in sixth place, Isaac Epi. And that page will read down 4, 6, 5, 2, 1, and 3. We need the runner-up Stumpy Ram Lamb here in our January class. We're going to pick our junior champion, reserve junior champion Rams. We will recognize our contestants out here in our junior champion Ram drive. And our class winner in the junior A group went to Aaron Liu from Cummington, Massachusetts. The runner-up was an entry from Stumpy family of Mexico, Missouri. Our first place February Ram Lamb class winner was S&T Schwartzentally Tunis of New York. And the runner-up was Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering. In our March Ram Lamb class, first was shown by S&T Tunis of New York, and second place was an exhibit exhibited by Small Fry Farm Continued and a Monique Charest. And our slick-sheared Ram Lamb from the Aaron Liu flock, and second, and that went to S&T Tunis.
This junior drive here in our Tunis division, and this has been a fun drive to go through. I think you got a lot of pieces as you move forward with whatever way you want to go with your flocks here, but I think there's a couple out of this division. I think their angles are right, they're built good, and one's just maybe just a little bit stouter at the ground out of this particular two, but boy, there's some really nice pieces. I've been really impressed here with this Tunis show so far as we go forward here. Let's give them a nice round of applause, and I'll show you the two that I like.
Our junior champion Ram went to S&T Tunis. with the first place February Ram Lamb, and Aaron Liu, Busy Corner Farm, with our Reserve Junior Champion Ram. After we pick our Grand Champion Ram, each Tunis exhibitor is eligible to bring one ram back to the ring, and we're going to pick our best-headed ram. We also have our Junior Show Champion Rams we're going to do right before we do the best-headed. Now, we have some added prizes here for the Grand Champion Ram of our show today. Lathia Farm Tunis of Middleborough, Massachusetts will be given an added award for the Grand Champion Ram, as well as you. Troy Staples of Penobscot, Maine is giving an award for the Reserve Grand Champion Ram. And Busy Corner Farm of Cummington, Massachusetts, the Liu family, is sponsoring an added award for the best headed Tunis ram. Our senior champion ram was the first place yearling from Double Trouble Tunis of New York. And our reserve senior champion went to Isaac Epi of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And our junior champion ram once again went to the S&T Tunis flock, and Aaron Liu had our reserve junior champion ram.
Again, we get in to bring our seniors back with our juniors out of this division, and for me, equally as impressive. Just got some differences, but really happy with these 4 bucks and what they bring to the table. And that senior champion, just a big stout buck, and you really build good from the ground up. A sheep that I think as you get in and handle him, balances up well enough. It may be changing him right in behind his shoulder just a little bit. Can maybe knock him up just a little bit, but a big stout buck with a lot of bone, and you know, just to change those pasterns just a hair as we get him out here in this particular drive. But I think when you make them that big and stout, they'll be just a little bit longer. And then we come in and study this junior champion, one that's just so balanced and good in his rib shape, where he's maybe a notch better. He's a little stouter at the ground, just up on those toes. And I think we get into this particular breed, that's a big attribute. But I think we get into our seconds, as we talked that junior class, reserve junior buck, really good about his angles. I really like that about that one. You stand back on the three-quarter view of these sheep, and you can really define them quite well. And this one's just built really good about his angles. I like that buck. And then the yearling buck maybe gets a little more pointer as we get out in this particular division, but there's one that's just really true. He's just so good in his top, and like the rib shape that he brings, just a really nice sheep there as well. So with that, I'm going to pick the two that I like out of this division. Let's give these Tunis exhibitors a nice round of applause as we pick our champion.
Our grand champion ram goes to S&T Tunis of New York. And our reserve champion to Double Trouble Tunis. Now we're going to pick our junior show champion, reserve champion rams.
Pick out our junior show division out here, and just bring in a couple of the buck lambs that were down the line, sheep that really like the maturity level of these sheep, but they just not as quite as much to them as we get out here and you compare them. We've talked that buck that came reserve out of the Ram show, which I thought was highly competitive with the young ladies. He'll be the champion out of this division. Young man's second yearling buck will be reserved. Congratulations to these exhibitors.
Double Trouble with the champion ram, and Isaac Epi with the reserve champion here in our junior show. Next will be the selection of our best headed rams. So Tunis exhibitors, each of you may bring one ram, face it towards the judge here, towards our bleacher side, and we're going to pick our best headed Tunis ram. And once again, Busy Corner Farm, the Liu brothers offer an award for the best headed ram. We appreciate all of our sponsors here at the show. Aaron Lou, Busy Corner Farm wins the Best Headed Ram Award, and also, ironically, that was an added award donated by the Busy Corner Tunis flock.
Really fun class of ewes here to sort, and a lot of different pieces. But I think this top here is really neat as we sit back and study them. The ewe that wins, there's just more of her out of this particular pair. Here's one that's good in her front. You like the rib shape she brings. I like the freshness that she has. I think one that her angles are right, and she just sets into herself, especially as we sit back here in that 3/4. Just so elegant through that front, and just I think a nice place to start. The ewe that comes next, definitely for me, follows type and kind. If you want to talk freshness up front, attractiveness, one that ties together in the neck shoulder junction, one that's good down her top when she wants to get out and go and show herself off. She's really good on the move, just not quite as much of her. I think she's a hair longer than the ewe that wins. Just need to see her just elevate her up just a little bit, but a really high quality pair there at the top end. The ewe in 3, a little more challenging type of ewe here, and one as you stand back on her, you might think she don't have enough to her, but you put your hands on her. There's a big top and a lot of rib in that sheep. For me to I just need to balance her up right in behind the shoulder. I need to balance her through her hip as we ask her to go, make her just a little bit neater in them areas. But there's a ewe that's definitely got some pieces as we go forward. The ewe in 4, and she's just really complete. She's just one that's good at the ground. She's up on those toes. She just balances up awful good. Like the freshness that she offers, there's just not enough of her to move her up, but really a complete ewe. And the ewe that's going to round this group, when they first came in, I seen her on the sideline, just one that from far, she's just so good in her lines. When we get her out in this particular drive, she gets a little lower through her front end. She just gets a little bit staler in her chest floor. I just need to freshen her up in her look and her condition to move her up at a really sound, functional ewe with a lot of body here. A really nice class, a fun class to sort through. Congratulations.
Nice set of yearling ewes, and we'll weigh these first 3 here while you get ready for your second class. Here's the results of our Group 1 yearly new class of Tunis that we just completed. Our first place honors went to Emma and Brooke Kyle with Double Trouble Tunis. On Kyle 1739, the class winner, weighed in at 213 pounds. The second place yearly new was exhibited by Aaron Liu on Spildy 275. She weighed 197. In third place, we had Josie Bess with Bess 7207, carrying a weight of 202. And our fourth place yearling new was exhibited by Kyle Harris with Harris 324. Fifth place was shown by Connor Priest on S&T 1948. The sixth place yearling new was exhibited by Tanner Francis with Bruins Tunis 1703. Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering placed 7th on Renew U 282, and our 8th place honors were from the Kyle Harris flock of Ludlow, Massachusetts. 9th place also went to Kyle Harris, and reading down in the book, that page will read 2, weighing 197. The next U was skipped and moved to the slick sheared, so it'll be 2, skip, 581, weighing 213, 4 and 9. And on your next page is 6, 7, 3, weighing 202. We want to welcome those of you around our ringside watching our Tunis show here this morning. This is one of many breeds of sheep that we'll be judging throughout the Eastern States Exposition. We're on our second week of judging sheep. Last weekend we had 900 entries from all over the New England area as far west as Illinois and Wisconsin. So very good, strong shows here. We have about 700 entries here of sheep this week here in our complex. Behind the announcer's station up here, up on the wall, are banners with different breeds of sheep. All of those, plus several others, are being exhibited here at the Big E. So while you're walking through the barn, make sure you look at the banners and see where all the different breeds are and see what you can learn. We do have some very nice educational and very attractive displays that are in competition. We have 5 this weekend, and if you walk down our center aisle here of the complex while you're in the barn, check out some of the displays. They will teach you about not only the breeds of sheep but about agriculture up here in New England as well. So stop by and admire them and learn a little bit and take some good information back home with you when you leave the fairgrounds. If you'd like to start a nice Tunis flock, talk to these exhibitors. When they're done, I'm sure most of them would have sheep for sale. And if you are looking for sheep and would like to start a project, we do have the New York sales upcoming here the 3rd week of October, and there's catalogs over here along with brand new Tunis directories are over here on the bleachers as well if you'd like to pick one up.
Again, a really nice class and a fun class to sort through. I think get into this top pair here, and in my opinion, easily the best two ewes in this particular class. And there's some give and takes as you go forward. I like the angles on the front shoulder on this ewe that wins. She just, they get her out here, get her presented. She's one, I think she runs uphill. I like that her at the point of the shoulder. She's a little bit smoother in through there. I think she's better in her hip structure. She's one that's equally as deep. She's not near as long as the ewe that comes in second, but there's one that just balances up so good. And both these ewes can get out and travel, and that's not a problem with either one of them. I just think she's just a little bit neater, just a little bit fresher in her look. I like her a bunch. And the ewe that comes in second, again, comes in a little different package, but a lot of good in this one. She's a little more rugged in her bone work, and I appreciate that about her. She's an extra width longer as you study her, and from flank to flank. She's one not quite as good in her hip, and just not quite as neat in her front end, but that's picking on a really nice ewe that can get out and travel. And we start making these ewes this big and this good, they got to get out and move, and both those ewes do that with some ease. Different, but both really nice females in this particular class. 3 and 4, I think these two ewes fit in here really nice for me. They're sheep that just balance up. The ewe in third, I think, is a little neater in through a rib shape. She's a little bit neater in her neck-shoulder junction, just and that's the difference in her. But boy, there's one that bounces up, just not as much of her to move up and beat those two ewes that precede her in this particular class. And the ewe in 4, I think, really follows my ewe in 3 type and kind. She's one that when she's on the standstill, she's one that runs uphill. When we get her, ask her to get out and go, she gets a little bit lower through her front end. I'd like to extend her out through there, but one that's just sound and functional. Just need to see more of her as we go. And really a challenging one here as we get into towards this top 5, but I think this ewe here just brings a lot to the table. I like her maturity level. She's ultra fresh. You stand back and look on her, she doesn't have near the fleece that some of these have. She's good through her top. Again, you would just like to deepen her up. I think she's got better days ahead of her, but one that's good in her look and fresh in her design. We just need to balance her, through her hip a little bit more. We can maybe slip her up a couple spots here, but a really challenging pair here at the top end. Very fun to sort through. Congratulations.
Nice class of yearling ewes, Tunis exhibitors. We have a slick-sheared class of yearling ewes in here. We'll be coming up here shortly. We'll be calling you in soon. Here's the placings on our Group 2 class of yearling ewes. The first place honors went to Emma and Brooke Kyle with Macaulay 1710. And that was from Double Trouble Tunis of Honey Eye Falls, New York. She weighed 207. The second place yearling ewe was bred by Boulder Creek Tunis of Penobscot, Maine, Troy Staples, with Boulder Creek 140. She weighed 217. In third place was Aaron Liu with Busy Corner Farm 1125. A daughter of Yahtzee, she weighed 212. Fourth place in the class was S&T Tunis with S&T 1967. Fifth place honors went to Josie Best with Best 7044. In sixth place we had Joe Garza with Snackety Hill 6. Seventh place was shown by Isaac Epi with Sugar Maple 1711. Our eighth place yearling ewe was an entry from Anna Monique Charest. Ninth place honors went also to Anna Monique Charest. And in 10th place was Isaac Epi. Rounding out the class was Joe Garcia of Stratford, New Hampshire. And if you're following the book, it will read 1, weighing 207, 4, 3 with a weight at 212, 9, 2 at 217, 10, 7, 8, 11, 6, and 5.
Nice you to win this slick shorn class here. Just so flat and good in her top line. I appreciate the hip about this one. Just so much balance and one that just ties together nice. Just a really nice, easy place to start in this class. You in second, there's one. She's just so functional in her kind. She's good at the ground. She brings you a lot of ribs. She's not quite as smooth through her top line as we ask her to go. She gets a little bit piecier right in through there, but there's one at tremendous rib shape and just really nice ewe there. After that, it gets a little more challenging. We run into some structure issues. I think the ewe in 3 brings you an extra shot of bone. You like the color on this one. Just really nice functional ewe. Just need to change her as we ask her to go right to her top line and off her hip. But a nice ewe, I think, follows type and kind of the ewe here in second. Ewe in 4, a little more challenging type female here. As you study her, she's really good in her outline. You like the smooth. Her angles are good. She just gets a little bit harder in her look for me right into her rib. I just need to soften her, just give her a little more rib in her flank and just free her up as we ask her to go, as well as these two using around the class. Just get a little bit tighter in their structure, but use it definitely got some pieces as these people move forward with their flocks. Congratulations.
In our slick-sheared yearly new class, first place went to S&T Tunis with S&T 1949, a daughter of Joe. She weighed 221. The second place yearly new was exhibited by the Kyles with Kyle 1730, and she weighed 205. In third place, we had Aaron Liu, Busy Corners 1123, a daughter of Yahtzee. She weighed 197. In fourth place, we had Carner Priest with S&T 1961. Aaron Liu with a Joker Daughter was fifth, and Isaac Epi with Sugar Maple 1708 rounded out the class. And following down, it will be 1 with the weight of 221, 4, 3 at 197, 6, 5, and 2 weighing 205. Here in our pair of yearly new class, first place went to Emma and Brooke Kyle. Second place was exhibited by Swartz and Tally Tunis. Third place honors were won by Aaron Liu. Fourth place to Connor Priest. The fifth place pair from Josie Beff. Sixth place, Kyle Harris. Seventh to Joe Garcia. Eighth place to Anna Monique Charest. And Isaac Epi in ninth. And following along in the book, it will read down 5, 8, 9, 7, 6, 1, and 3. And on the next page is 4 and 2.
really challenging class here in this fall ULAM class, and I think there's a lot of good in all these. It's just kind of find the one that's most complete. For me is the big U that wins, just not because she's the biggest, but there's one that balances up good. She's got extra shot of rib. I think when we ask them to get out and go, she's the truest at the ground, and that's kind of what surfaces up to the top of this particular class. I mean, the first in mid, you can maybe strengthen her hair on those pasterns just a little bit at times, but I think she brings the most pieces for me. The U in second, here's one that's just a little neater as you study her in through her shoulder compared to our class winner. She's really like the maturity rate that she's at up in that front third of her. When we ask this one to get out and go, she gets a little bit lower through her front end, breaks in behind that shoulder. I'd like to elevate her right in through there. And again, maybe just strengthen her a little bit, but she's one that's got a nice stride as we get out and go. U in three, maybe, there's one that's just not enough to this one. There's just, she comes up a notch shorter as we get her on the side view compared to the two U's that are precede her in class. She's one that's designed neat through her front end. We just need to see more of her to move her up. U in four, really a nice bodied sheep, one that's designed awful well. Just not as much of her, gets a little bit lower through her front. And really like the attractiveness of the U that comes in five, but for me, she's the shortest striding one out of this particular group, and for that reason, we get her down into five. But some really nice pieces in all these females as we move forward. Congratulations.
It's a nice class of senior ewe lambs. Once we weigh these, we're going to select our senior champion and reserves. So you 3 yearling ewe class winners and runner-ups, we'll call you back to the ring at this time, please. We're going to share the placings here while these are coming in here from their senior ULAM class. First place went to S&T Tunis on S&T 1989, a daughter of Joe, and she weighed 142. Second place went to S&T Tunis with Stumpy 613, and she weighed 146. In third place was Emma Embrook Kyle on Kyle's 1815, and she weighed 142. Fourth place was shown by Aaron Liu, and fifth place to Emma Embrook Kyle. Recognizing our exhibitors here competing for our senior champion ewe of the show, we have the first place yearling ewe in Group 1 was shown by Emma Embrook Kyle. The runner-up in that class was from the Aaron Liu flock, Busy Corners Farm. Our Group 2 yearling class winner was Emma Embrook Kyle, and second place in that group went to Boulder Creek, Tunis, Penobscot, Maine. And then our slick-sheared yearling ewe, first place was S&T Tunis with the daughter of Joe. Second place was the Kyle family. And once again, our senior ewe lambs we just finished up with First and second both went to S&T Tunis.
Our senior division in our Tunis female side of things here, and just really impressive set of sheep. And I know we got some differences out here, but I think these sheep really exemplify a lot of things, that I'm looking for. They got to have some look and some extra rib, but and put things together at the ground. And I think these females bring a lot for the breed as these breeders move forward and breed what they like and what they can market. And that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, you're just getting my opinion out of this division. But I think some really high quality females as these exhibitors go forward. Let's give them a nice round of applause, and I'll show you the two that I like.
Our senior champion ewe goes to the Kyles. And Boulder Creek with the reserve senior champion. Came out of that Class 2 group of yearling ewes. And once again, Tunis exhibitors, we do have new directories. Your 2018 and 19 Tunis directories have been sent out here by the association or over here on the bleachers. Be sure and pick one up or two. Has all the complete names and addresses of every Tunis breeder here in the National Tunis Sheep Registry Association.
Nice class here once again. This female division, just a lot of good pieces as we move forward. I think the ewe that wins, she's just really neat in her design. She's so fresh in her look, and yet she's got so much size and scale to her, and one that just balances up when she wants to get in and relax herself. She's more extended right up through that front, and she gives us that look at times. Angles are right on that one. I like her quite well. The ewe in second, she comes up a notch shorter compared to our class winner, but here's one that's got an extra shot of bone. You like the rib shape, you like the hip structure on this one. Just need to see a little more of her to beat that class winner there. I like those two ewes a bunch. Different in their type, but the best two in this particular class. Really attractive one that comes next, beautiful in her outline. You like the top line on this one. She gets a little bit frailer in her bone work. You like to bring her up on those toes just a little bit from a balance standpoint and design. For me, she needed to be in third. The ewe in four, here's one on the standstill. She's ultra attractive and good. I think she resembles our ewe in second quite a bit. She gets more restricted through her top line and through her hip as we ask her to go. I need to loosen the structure on this one to move her up, but a really nice ewe with some pieces. And the ewe in five makes this top group just on a balance standpoint. I think she follows the ewes that precede her in this particular class on the standstill again. An extra shot of rib and design to this one. Just need to loosen her in her structure as we go and raise her at the point of the shoulder. But a really nice class here. Congratulations. first class in our February Elam side of things here. And I like a nice pair here at the top end, a little bit different. The ewe that wins just has brood ewe written all over her as I study her. I just like the extra rib shape that she brings. For me, she's a little bit cleaner in through her chest floor as you stand back and study this one. Really functional, maybe not quite as eye-appealing right through her hip and her hip design as the ewe that comes next, but I read the front two-thirds of this one, a ewe that's going to have some longevity in her, yet she's got enough look, I think, needs to win this particular too. The ewe that comes in second, beautifully presented shape that's good through her top line and her hip. She's one at times gets a little bit lower through the front third of her body. I'd like to tuck that chest floor into her just a little bit, make her just a little bit neater right in through there, but I think a really nice balanced one to come into second. 3 and 4, I think I like the spine on this one. And 3, here's one that's actually ties together maybe the best of the whole group. In her next shoulder junction, which she got an extra shot of rib. She just doesn't quite balance up. I'd like to let her just give her a little more flank and make her a little bit neater as we stand back on this one on the side view. But there's one that's just really functional. We just need to balance her up as we stand back on her. I like to balance on this 1 and 4 quite a bit. She just one that's giving us some fight out here. With that, she gets a little bit tighter in her structure, a little bit tighter off her hip. I need to loosen her in her stride as she goes to move her up in this particular class. And really a fancy one to round this group here. Elam has got some eye appeal to her, definitely got some rib shape and longevity. Just not quite as far along, not as much of her, but a shape that brings a lot of good to us as well. Congratulations.
Well, we're working this class of ewe lambs. We're going to catch you up on a couple classes. Our January ewe lamb class was won by Troy Staples of Penobscot, Maine. Our class-winning ewe lamb weighed 146. The second place honors in that January class went to Mackenzie Stumpy of Missouri with a lamb that weighed 141. In third place was Aaron Liu from Cummington, Massachusetts with a ewe lamb that weighed 128. Fourth place honors went to S&T Tunis, and fifth place was Connor Priest with S&T 1996. In sixth place was Josie Best, and seventh place Tyler Priest. Eighth place honors were won by S&T Tunis, or Connor Priest with an S&T lamb, and ninth place was another Kyle Harris lamb. Kyle also rounded out the class with Harris 421. And that page will read down 8, 9, 6, 10, 5, 7, 1 with a weight of 146, 2 at 141, 3 at 128, and 4. Our February ewe lamb class. First place was exhibited by Mackenzie Stumpy of Missouri, and she weighed 136. Our second place lamb from Emma and Brooke Kyle, and their lamb weighed 130. The third place ewe lamb was exhibited by Anna Monique Charest, and she weighed 127. Fourth place was S&T Tunis, and fifth place to Anna Monique Charest. And that class page would read 5-3, weighing 127, 4-2 at 130, and 1 at 136.
Really a challenging class here in this particular division, and I'm going to use, I think, the sheep that's the most complete for me. She's not the biggest and the most extreme in any way. She's just one that balances up good. She's good through her top line. I think when we ask her to get out and go, she's true enough for me in this particular group to start it off with. The ewe that comes in second, it really follows type and kind of the ewe that wins the class, and for that reason gets her into second. She's good in her front end. She's good in her rib. She's not quite as good as we go out of her hip. I'd like to raise the tail head up on her just a bit. I think when we first gave her the first go-round, she maybe wasn't giving us the best look, but I think she's one that can get out and follow her tracks and definitely get her into second hole in this particular group. The challenging pair that comes in next, and I really like the freshness of this one that comes in 3, and at times you stand back on this one, she just gives you a really good look, and you start studying her. She gets a little bit flatter in her rib shape. She gets a little bit tighter in her flank. She's one, as we ask her to go, gets a little bit lower through her front end. I'd like to extend her up there with the size that she brings, but I think definitely as we go down the road, she'll be a big ewe out of this particular group. The big ewe that comes in 4, and you appreciate that about this one. She gets a little too piecey for me as we ask her to go right in behind that shoulder and through that front, but you really appreciate the size and scale. She's one that brings in extra shot of bone. And around the class, a couple of ewe lambs here, really good and fresh in their design and their maturity, just not quite as much of them to move them up in this particular division here. Congratulations.
Next up will be our March ewe lamb class before we show our slick-sheared ewe lambs. So Marches, we'll call you up to the ring. This will be our first call for the March ewe lambs. Here in our February ewe lamb Group 2 class, first place went to Anna Monique Charest with Small Fry Farm 87, and she weighed 97. Second was Joe Garcia with Snackety Hill 10, and she weighed 110. And third was Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering on his lamb that weighed 126. And in fourth place was Josie Best. Fifth place and sixth place honors went to Kyle Harris. And that page will read down 3 at 126, 1 weighing 97, 5, 4, 6, and 2 at 110. Again, junior exhibitors tonight at 7 o'clock will be our first showmanship contest. We have 3 age groups. We have juniors, intermediates, and seniors. You do not need to pre-register. You can just come out and join us here this evening with the sheep. If you have a friend that would like to participate, you may have that person as well. You do not have to have sheep or own sheep here to participate in our showmanship contest tonight. Also, while we are here in our Tunis show, we do have new directories over here on the bleachers. So the 2018-19 directory is over here on the table. Our Region 1 director is here, Josie Best, who's one of our exhibitors from Unity Newport, New Hampshire. Serves as a director here. Lisa Knight from Connecticut is the alternate in our Region 1. Region 2, which we also have exhibitors from New York. That director is Laureen Howe, and Jason Loper is the alternate. And from Region 3 is Marianne Turchek is our director, and Jeanette Rickinson is the alternate. And Kathy Neese is Director 4 Representative, and Todd Briscoe is the alternate. Region 5 is represented by Peyton Fair from Tennessee, and Linda Casey from Georgia is the alternate. In Region 6, we have Tammy Westcott of Indiana and Jeff Muncie, also from Indiana. Our Region 7 director is Lynn Murray, and we have Missouri exhibitors here. Mitch Schmidt from Centralia, Missouri is that region's alternate. And our West Coast representative director is Cheryl Allen. And John Vogel from Colorado is the alternate.
big style ewe lamb to win this particular division here. Just one, bring her out here and just let her go. She's really true and sound and holds herself together so level. When we ask her to go, she just maybe a little bit farther along as you study into maturity into her shoulder. But there's one that's just so complete and so good, and she's just one that's got a lot of mass to her. Needs to win this particular class. The ewe in second. She reads me a little bit fresher in through the front third of her body. She's not neatly designed right behind the shoulder. She gets a little bit piecier as we ask her to go. Not quite the balance in the look, but I like the breed character in the head on that one quite well. If it needs to be in second hole in this particular class. The ewe in three, and she's just not as much of this one, but when she wants to sit in and finally give us a look and relax, she's ultra attractive and good, and in her lines, she's maybe just not quite as much of her, but I think as we project her forward and she matures out and wants to be here and realize what we're doing with her and give us a look, I think there's a bright future ahead in that one there in three. The ewe in four gets a little bit lower through her front end, just need to elevate her right at the point of the shoulder, but there's one that's got a nice hip in her, and she's really good about her angles, and come into this pair that's going to round the group. Sheep that are really functional, just don't quite balance up and have that extra shot of look and the depth and balance that we had in these ewes that are up ahead, but definitely some pieces as he moves forward here with their flocks. Congratulations.
This is a nice class of March ewe lambs. We'll weigh these three here and the top three. First in that group went to S&T Tunis. On S&T 2024, the second place ewe lamb was Busy Corner Farm, Aaron Liu. Third place was Anna Monique Charest, and fourth place went to Joe Garcia. Our fifth place ewe lamb was exhibited by Isaac Epi, and sixth place honors went to Isaac Epi as well. Here's the weights on that class of Tunis ewe lambs. Our first place ewe lamb from S&T Tunis weighed 123. Aaron Liu, Busy Corners, second place lamb weighed 119, and the S&T third place lamb weighed 123, or weighed 94. So again, it reads down in the book 3 with the weight of 94, 1 at 123, 5, 6, 4, and 2 at 119.
a more challenging class here in this slick-shore division, but I think as you just stand back and study them, they kind of come into three different groups. For me, I think the ewe that wins is kind of, she's a different one of the group on her own. Just she's kind of a blend of, a breeding sheep type and, maybe you kind of call her weather type. You kind of split these sheep up a little bit, and I call her kind of the tweener in this slick-shear division. Just a ewe that's got some body to her. She one that balances up when she wants to give us a look and settle in here. She's good through her front, and I think when you slick these bigger sheep off and they can balance up like this, it's tough not to win this particular class. The ewe that comes in second, and here's one I think's a little leveler through her top line and her hip, no doubt about it. She's one that's just not as much of her. Compared to the ewe that follows her in class, she's got a notch more rib and depth to her, and you really appreciate that about her. Ewe in 3, I think you really like the outline and the freshness on this one. As you stand back and really study her, I just need to deepen her just a hair, just to compete with them two ewes that are up ahead of her, and I think she could push to win the class. Just add a shot more depth to that one. Really like the outline. Come into these 3 ewes that are going to run this particular group, and big frame sheep, they just don't quite balance up like these sheep that are up in the front of the class, but definitely got some pieces that they can move forward with in their programs. Congratulations.
We'll call in our pairs of Tunis ewe lambs at this time. We have a dozen entries in our pair of ewe lamb class. In our slick-sheared ewe lamb class, first place went to Boulder Creek. Troy Staples of Penobscot, Maine, with a lamb that weighed 141. Second was Aaron Liu with Busy Corner 1139, and she weighed 128. Third place was shown by S&T Tunis on a lamb that weighed 113. In fourth place was Stumpy Tunis of Missouri. Fifth place to Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering, and rounding out the class was Josie Best. And on that page, we'll read down 1 with the weight of 141, 2 at 128, 3 at 113, 4, 6, and 5. Here in our pair of ULAM class, first place went to Troy Staples, Boulder Creek, Tunis. Second place was exhibited by Swartz and Talley, Tunis of New York. And in third place was Stumpy Family from Missouri. In fourth place was Double Trouble Tunis, Emma Kyle from New York. Fifth place, Aaron Liu from Massachusetts. Sixth place honors were won by Anna Monique Charest, and in seventh was Josie Best. Eighth place was an entry from Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering. Ninth place was shown by Connor Priest. 10th place honors were won by Joe Garcia, and 11th place was Kyle Harris. 12th place honors went to Isaac Eppy. Becky, would you pull your lamb back over? Recognizing our contestants here that are competing for our Junior Champion U Honors, we have to the judge's far right, the first place January ewe lamb from Boulder Creek. Right behind it is an entry from Mackenzie Stumpy. The Group 1 February ewe lamb class was won by the Stumpies, and the runner-up was from Emma Embrook Kyle, Double Trouble. Our February Group 2 ewe lamb class winner was Small Fry Farm, Anna Monique Charest, and the runner-up was from Joe Garcia. Our first place March ewe lamb was an entry from S&T Tunis, and second place was Aaron Liu. And our slick-sheared ewe lambs we just finished up with went to Boulder Creek first and Aaron Liu second.
Apologize, take a little extra time here, but I think well deserving of these females that came out of this junior division here in this Tunis show. This has been definitely way more than I expected. Just really good sheep, from top to bottom. And Evan said earlier, these guys, we got to raise what we like and what we can market. And for me, I think these sheep that came out of these particular divisions, even with some differences, were the best ones. And kind of once you get them out here, you kind of change your thoughts a little bit. And I think there's two that kind of fall together, maybe just a little bit more for me, but out of this group. But we're not going to sit here and discuss them. I think we went through these classes today and should be awful proud of what you're raising and what you're doing. I think definitely heading in the right direction. This Tunis breed is really taking a hold and moving forward. And, if I had some younger kids, I think this is one a few years ago you thought about latching into. It's just kind of I like a red and white thing. I like Hereford cattle, and, these little opposite on the markings, but just really cool sheep. And I think we've really came a long ways on structure and balance and just a lot of different pieces as you can move forward. But with that, let's give these exhibitors a nice round of applause, and I'll show you the two out of this division I think are awful good.
The Stumpy family from Missouri with the Junior Champion U, and Boulder Creek Troy Staples of Maine with the Reserve Junior Champion U with his first place Slickshear ewe lamb. Group 1 February class winner was the Stumpy home. And now we're ready to pick our overall Grand Champion U of the show, and then we'll be doing our Junior Show champions as following that. We're doing the overall grand champion first here. We'll retain the Stumpy ewe lamb and the Boulder Creek ewe lambs. Selecting our grand champion ewe of the show, we have our first place yearling ewe and senior champion from Emma and Brooke Kyle, Double Trouble Tunis. Troy Staples with Boulder Creek Tunis had the reserve senior champion. The Stumpy family from Missouri with the junior champion, and Boulder Creek again with the reserve junior champion ewe.
Pick our champion ewe here, and just again a lot of quality as we bring these four back out here. I think as we look through them and talk that senior ewe, just ultra attractive and good, and yet enough to her, and just her angles are so good, and she runs uphill. Really liked her out of that division. The ewe that followed her, that was a competitive class. Them two traced back to the same class, and she's maybe not quite as neat in her shoulder and her front end, but there's one that definitely is good and up on her toes and got a lot of body and maternal look to her. I think definitely had to follow from that attribute. And we came into these two junior ewe lambs. I think these two are built really, really similar. They're both good in through their front. You stand back and study these. Extra shot of rib and just a lot of maternal look there, but yet enough show ring look to go with it as we project those forward. But a tremendous female show here in Tunis show that we've had. Let's give these exhibitors a nice round of applause, and we'll pick the two that I like.
Emma and Brooke Kyle with the Grand Champion U. And our reserve Grand Champion U goes to Troy Staples with Boulder Creek, Tunis. Congratulations to both of you, our champion from Missouri and our reserve Grand Champion from Maine. The Grand Champion U received an added award donated by Lathea Farm of Middleborough, Massachusetts. Swartz and Talley, Tunis, also offered an award for the reserve Grand Champion U.
Pick our junior show champions here, and really neat thing as you guys do this out here, pulling these in out of this open show, and I think it's a really good deal. Just these kids showing with these older people, they can definitely learn as we go, and then bring them back out here and give them their time and do. I think it's really a nice deal as we move forward with all of their flocks. But with that, we're going to pick the champion and reserve out of this group. Let's give all these young exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Stumpies with the double trouble. Double trouble on that. Triple trouble. Both of those went to Emma Kyle with the Class 1 Yearling U, the reserve, and our Class 2, the overall Grand Champion U. Now we're going to pick a best-headed Tunis ewe here of our show. Aaron Liu with Busy Corner Farm wins our best-headed ewe. And again, we have an added award here, sponsored by Troy Staples. Border Creek, Tunis is the sponsor. Hold your placings here, exhibitors, please, until we've had an opportunity to go through and get everybody scored. First place in this class went to Double Trouble Tunis. Second place was an entry from Swartzentally Tunis of New York. Third place honors to Aaron Liu of Massachusetts. And in fourth place was Josie Best. Fifth place was Connor Priest, followed in sixth by Anna Monique Charest. Seventh to Isaac Epi, and eighth place to Kyle Harris. Reading down the book, it will go 4, 6, 7, 8, 1, 3, and 5. And on the next page is 2. Our next competition will be the breeder's flock. And in the breeder's flock, all 5 animals must be bred and owned by the same exhibitor. So those of you here in line, if you have any changes in animals you need to make, you can do so at this time. Our breeder's flock was won by Double Trouble Tunis. Second place to S&T Tunis. Our third place breeder's flock went to Aaron Liu. Fourth place to Josie Best. Fifth to Isaac Epi. And Kyle Harris was sixth. Next is our get of sire, and all 4 of these animals must be sired by the same ram, both sexes represented. This is our final class here in our Northeast Regional Tunis show. We certainly had a wonderfully deep, very impressive set of Tunis out here today. We also want to remind all you Tunis exhibitors that over here on the bleachers is your New Year's directory, so make sure you stop by and pick one of them up as well, furnished here by the National Tunis Sheep Association. Here in our Get a Sire class, first place went to Swartz and Talley, Tunis. Second to Aaron Liu, and third place was exhibited and bred by Stumpy, Tunis of Missouri. Fourth place to Josie Best. Fifth place to Jeremy Yoakum's Chickering. Sixth place to Anna Charest. Seventh to Kyle Harris. And our eighth place group was shown by Izzy Kepi. This time we need a representative of Swartz and Talley, Tunis. And folks, we need to get pictures also of those champions and reserves here this morning. We need a representative of Swartz and Talley, Tunis to the ring. All right, Justine and Mike Bielowitz from Swartz and Talley, Tunis. We want to present to you both the Premier Exhibitor and Premier Breeder Awards here at your Regional Tunis Show. Folks, let's give them a nice round of applause. Swartz and Talley, Tunis, on a job well done.